What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Gaming Without Parole. Sitting next to me this week and every week is Dezrah.
Hello. And sitting across from me, of course, is Bryan Paul.
Hey, what's going on? Hey, were you aware we have a Patreon page?
I was not, because I don't watch this show either.
Patreon page. No one watches this show. This is your first time watching Gaming Without Parole. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, Without Parole Games. Hit that little red box that's right down there somewhere. And we have reviews. We have another podcast. We have Let's Plays. We have everything you want. And if we don't, let us know.
Yes, Patreon for all your Without Parole game needs.
Oh yeah, patreon.com/Without Parole Games.
They're there only for us.
Yeah.
No other sites use Patreon. Just us. We're like that.
If we get 1 million people to give us $1 a month, you'll never see me again.
No, that would be great.
No, it's never happening.
$1 a month. For $1 a month, no, we're not going to do that.
Me too. Right. Makes me wonder how much money those huge YouTubers are rolling in every month. I bet it's insane.
I hear one of them drives a Tesla, so, that doesn't suck.
Does not suck. Des, what are we talking about this week?
We're talking about the PlayStation VR.
Oh, hey, that's my favorite genre of games.
It is not mine.
Oh, yeah, we found out something very interesting today.
Yeah, as I grew up in the 90s, so I was burned once by the promise of virtual reality gaming, where it was, a 30-pound headset that you would have to wear and all that stuff. And
did you ever try those?
No, I was, poor kid. Yeah, but that was, all the news was like, oh, VR is going to change everything, and turns out that it didn't. So
not then it didn't.
No, not then. So this new round of VR stuff, I was excited. It's like, you know what? Maybe they're going to get it to work.
Yeah.
Everyone always raves, of course, the Oculus Rift was the first one that really got all the press and attention. Now there's a PlayStation VR, there's, the Samsung has its version and all that. So it's like, hey, maybe this time they've kind of get it figured out. So kind of get it figured out. I don't know what that was.
Now you've been hanging out with me for a while, and day in, day out, week in, week out. Usually you see me at work or you see me here, and I'm raving about some kind of PlayStation VR awesome game that I'm super obsessed with. And if you watch the channel, you'll see that I'm super obsessed with pretty much every PlayStation VR game.
Yes.
I feel like if you had a PlayStation VR, you wouldn't be coming into work ranting and raving about how great it is.
If I had a PlayStation VR, I wouldn't be coming into work anymore. So I will say this, I want to be as fair as I can be at the games I did play, because my experiences are not typical. I do occasionally get motion sickness in the real world. I'd like to say I love roller coasters. You throw me on the biggest, gnarliest, scariest roller coaster, I will do that all day.
Yeah.
You give me drop rides, those are fantastic, but you put me on the teacups.
Oh, yeah.
Or, God forbid, the tilt-a-whirl, I'm done. That's it. If that sounds familiar to you, yeah. Well, the Scrambler's not too bad for some reason.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I can handle that.
Yeah.
Reading in a car, not so much. So,
gotcha.
If this story sounds familiar to you, tread carefully with the PlayStation VR. The first game Bryan had me try was the...
I'm real bad at this. I'm real bad at this. Every time I show someone PlayStation VR, I always do the wrong thing. Right? The first game I showed my mom was Drive Club.
Right.
Bad move, Bryan. But I was like, car, she can handle it. And but then the first game I showed you was Eagle Flight.
Yes.
I was like, gee, let's put Dez for the first time in VR flying above the streets of Paris.
Well, I will have to say, Eagle Flight, for all the games I have played, I had the least reaction to that one.
Yeah. Which
sounds kind of strange, because Eagle Flight, you're playing the point of view of an eagle flying over this kind of post-apocalyptic, overgrown Paris, it's a gorgeous setting.
Yeah.
And the animation and design are beautiful. And it kind of uses, there we go, uses some of, all the processing power, I'm guessing, of the... all the processing power of the PlayStation VR is going into making the VR experience. So it seems like there's maybe not that much oomph left for like high fidelity, high definition graphics.
Yeah.
But using a design style like this takes advantage of that, and it looks very, very pretty.
Eagle Flight was a game that I didn't even think was possible on the PlayStation VR, because it is like this big, open, vast city.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that something that looked as good as that and was as open as that was possible. Ubisoft did it, though, and I'm I'm thrilled. I think that's phenomenal. And I think the reason you didn't feel too motion sick from it is because and we've had some comments about this too. Ubisoft sort of went overboard with the comfort settings. Like you can see your beak and there's like lots of feathers around.
Yes.
And so it really blocks out your peripheral quite a bit.
Yeah.
And even when you turn, like it shrinks your peripheral even further. So that way, because I think that's all the extraneous stuff over here.
It's probably
is what you see and what causes motion sickness when you turn. So Ubisoft went overboard with theirs to make sure no one gets sick.
So in comparison, when I played that, there was one move where you tilt your head and that banks you sharply, and that combination made me a little woozy, but that was the game that made me think, oh, maybe I'm going to be okay with this. So it speaks to how well Ubisoft did with their design on that, because I could have played that for quite a long while, is probably how I should have ended that sentence. Which was not the case with some of the other games.
No, Eagle Flight, while we're on it, is great because it starts off real slow. And then diversity is fantastic because it basically you start racing through tunnels underneath the city and like these super fast time trials almost, and trying not to slam your little beak into a concrete wall is it feels almost impossible until you get it and you're like, I'm amazing.
Yeah.
And then it introduces the I don't know if they call it the squawk or whatever it is, but then you can like shoot down other birds and they explode into a pile of feathers.
That was what I did. I had a blast. Like a lot of the aerial combat games are very difficult or fidgety, or you have all different control setups. So the y-axis and z-axis. It takes forever just to figure out how to fly your ship.
Yeah.
But then by that point you're dead. The flying is so intuitive and natural. You just kind of go along, and it's really well done. It's like you said, there's a little difficulty at first, but once you kind of figure it out, there's this nice learning process, and you feel like you have accomplished something, and next thing you know, like, oh yeah, I am awesome at this, and you're dogfighting with vultures, and it's great.
And what I like most about it is sometimes you'll see birds and you'll see them like in real life, and you'll see them do stupid things. You're like, geez, like what did he just do that for? But when you're playing this game, sometimes you'll fly like directly at a building, and at the last minute you'll do like this look up, and you'll just like fly straight up the side of the building, and you're like, damn, that's why birds do it, because it's exhilarating.
It's fun.
It's so much fun. Yeah. You find yourself taking risks that you would never take, like if you were probably an actual bird, but it's part of the fun.
Yeah, there was one in kind of like the load screen, I guess is the best way to put it. You were flying around Paris, and I was just like, I wonder if I can fit through that hole. Yeah, I can. All right, great. I didn't smash against the sidewalk.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that was, I will say, out of all the experience that I've had, for design, for gameplay, ease of use, you can pretty much just strap it on, and, and start playing.
Parole.
I'd say I think that was my favorite gaming experience of all.
Nice.
Which I guess we led with that, but hey.
It's all right. It's actually one of my favorite VR games still. It came out a while ago, and I still love it. I think I say this all the time about too many PlayStation VR games. I feel like the novelty should have worn off by now. Because when like a new console comes out, you're like, oh, this game is amazing, and this game's amazing, and this game's all because it's on a new console.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for that wow factor to wear off. I played a game of Hyper Void today, which is a kind of a crappy 3D shooter, and it just recently got patched with VR levels, and I was playing through. I did a Let's Play today, and you'll see. It's still not a very good game, but halfway through, I'm like, I'm really liking this. This is a lot of fun. This actually looks pretty good. I really but it's all oops. it's all.
That's a first.
I'm concerned. I'm concerned that I'm loving these things, just because I love VR so much. But it's been 2 months.
Yeah.
The wow factor. I play it hours every day, and I think that's doing something to my brain. but it's awesome, and the wow factor apparently is not going to wear off anytime soon.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
More power to you.
So a game I want to talk about that is highly controversial is Here They Lie. Here They Lie was a launch game. Yeah, it's kind of monochromatic.
Yeah.
It's all brown and black basically, and it's a first person survival horror game. I'd say you have no weapons, and you're just basically exploring the environment, trying to progress. And once you run into your first monsters, it's scary.
Yeah.
And they can see you, and you can see them off in the distance, and I'm not worried about it. Okay. And if they
everything's
see,
fine.
Everything's fine. If they see you, or if they hear you, they come after you. And in VR, that's ultra scary for a monster to be chasing you. They make lots of weird clicking noises, and they look like they're these weird homeless people with antlers sticking out of their head. I apologize if there are any homeless people watching. That wasn't meant to be derogatory.
Or antlers-bearing people.
Oh, yeah. I mean, no offense, reindeer folk.
Reindeer Americans?
The reindeer folk. Yeah, so basically the reason this game's so controversial is because it came out at launch, and I think it was a surprise to most people that it came out at launch. I had it pre-ordered on Amazon as a retail game for $60.
Wow.
And that disappeared into the ether of the internet, and it became a $20 downloadable title on launch day.
Sounds like it was a surprise to the developers as well. Then
it sounds like maybe they thought the game was garbage and they just sort of pushed it out the door at a budget price, and that's what I thought. That's what I was like. That must be what happened to this game. But I downloaded day one because I'm like, I'm a PlayStation VR owner, and I need to play all the games that I'm interested in. And hey, at the very least, I'm saving $40.
Yes.
So I downloaded it, and I was floored because it was the first game I played in VR that let me just walk around freely. And I will say, anytime I turned using the analog stick, you can do quick turning or you can do smooth turning like a first-person shooter.
Okay. But
I'll say it made me a little woozy. The more I played, I was like, oh, I don't know. And I pushed through it, and I kept pushing through it, and it was a little rough. It felt like it took something out of me. Like it was like energy draining.
Yeah.
Right? As motion sickness is.
I can, yeah.
Dez ready for a nap. Right? But then I went back to it recently.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I put a good review up on the channel, and tons of people agree with me. IGN doesn't. They gave it like a 4.8. Right, so lots of people don't agree with me.
Ooh, I'm so sorry.
But there is a rabid fan base for this game who really enjoys it.
Yeah.
Now I went back to it recently to be like, oh, I wonder if it's holding up now that I've played 40 other VR games in the meantime.
Right, and now that you've got the experience and kind of the training to deal with the motion issues.
And on top of it all, like maybe the novelty's worn off, and maybe it's not as good as I thought it was. It's just as good, and guess what? I must have my VR legs. Because it didn't make me sick at all.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. It felt totally natural. Good stuff. So highly recommended. Still $20 on the PlayStation Store. Go check it out. If you like survival horror games, you will not be disappointed. If you do get a little motion sick...
don't start with that one.
Don't start with that. And maybe keep in mind that, the more you stick with it, and maybe in a couple months, you won't feel anything at all. You'll be dead.
Or wish you were.
Or wish you were. But you had another successful experiment tonight.
Which one was a successful one?
You had Until Dawn, Rush of Blood.
Oh, Until Dawn, Rush of Blood. Out of the ones I've played, that was kind of the second least vomitous. So it's a first-person shooter, and it's quite literally on the rails. As you can see here, you're in a crazy carnival atmosphere. Clowns are scary.
I think so.
Yeah,
I saw Stephen King's It when I was 12. I'm still scared of Pennywise the Clown.
I'm kind of getting done with the whole clowns are scary thing. I know a bunch of professional clowns, and they're almost exclusively awesome people. Like, I'm a magician, and I'd rather hang out with clowns than magicians. Professional magicians, we're not nice people. Professional clowns, everyone I've ever met has been fantastic. So the whole scary clown thing, I'm kind of over.
But we do have the remake of Stephen King's It coming next year.
That's true.
So there's a chance for the whole new generation to be scared of clowns. Moving on.
But the good news is, whatever you feel about clowns, you get to shoot a whole bunch of them in this game. It is, like I was starting to say, absolutely literally on the rails. You're in a roller coaster cart going through these dilapidated carnival environments and shooting things up. That's pretty much, not so much that kind of shooting up, no. Oh. That's much more expensive.
I don't know.
Well, in the long run.
VR was expensive.
Yeah. But yes, anyway, so you use the aforementioned PlayStation Move controllers, and I will have to say, as much as I've made my opinions on the PlayStation Move very clear in this series, it worked.
Yeah.
It worked great.
Yeah.
This was probably the best motion-controlled controller I've ever used. It's absolutely better than Wii, better than anything Xbox has done. This was great. I mean, you moved your hand, you basically have these animated versions of your arms holding guns on the screen. It's a 1-to-1 match. If there is a lag, it's not noticeable. The guns are accurate. There really isn't even like trying to figure out where the sighting is on the guns. You point where you want to shoot, and you shoot, and it hits it. Yeah. It's really, really well done.
And for anyone who's tried the move on the PlayStation 3, just know that this is a totally different experience. This is I don't think there was a single awesome PlayStation 3 move game.
Yeah.
But with between the VR tech and the camera tech and whatever they're doing for sensing technology, it's infinitely better than it was on PlayStation 3.
Yeah, and clearly, I mean, hats off to the developers on this, because
massive.
The hardware is the same. It's still the same Move controller as far as I know. So they just went in and must have overhauled the underlying code there, and well done. And it was a blast. There's basically two main genres of game. Apparently, when Des gets motion sick, he gets these weird accents going on.
I like it. Can we do this before every episode?
No.
It's PlayStation VR month.
Final episode of Gaming Without Parole.
Oh no.
But
finding co-hosts is like half impossible.
But I'm a first. So the sentence I was trying to start was, I'm a first-person shooter guy. I love my first-person shooters, and this was really gave you that immersion into that thing. I was doing it's funny, all the habits like that are kind of programmed into you while you're playing first-person shooters. Keeping your eyes centered. Using peripheral vision, aiming, turning, looking. It all just kind of like came in and felt natural in this environment. Even to the point where I was, saying to Bryan at the beginning, you had the two guns. So I was trying to do both guns at once. And I was like, no, I'm right-handed. I want to do what I know. I want to aim with this. This will be my backup weapon. And I got a lot more successful after that. But some of the actual roller coaster parts, when you're moving up and down hills, the whole motion sickness thing came up again. Probably shouldn't be saying came up at this point.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
If there was a straight track option, that's what give this 2 thumbs up.
Right.
At this point, I'm going to give it 1 thumb up and 1 hand holding a bag, getting it ready.
I don't want to seem insensitive to Des or anyone who has motion sickness. But I was saying slightly joking, but sort of serious before the podcast, that I sort of wish that there was some sort of I felt some sort of happy medium between what you feel and what I feel. Yeah. Because when I go down a hill in the roller coaster on Until Dawn, like I get a little bit of a whew, like in my stomach, like I would be on a baby roller coaster, but I don't get like the whew, like the big jolt that I would get from being motion sick. So I really enjoy VR, but there are moments where I'm like, man, I wish I felt that a little bit more. So it's funny that you and I always have 2 different sides to talk about, and tonight we have 2 drastically different sides to talk about. So I'm sad that it went the way it went, but I'm glad that we have opposing viewpoints.
And the science geek in me wants to get, if you don't know what causes motion sickness, this is a perfect example and actually a nice experiment to prove what it does. Basically, what happens is you got this little thing in your ear that a cavity filled with fluid, little hairs and little rocks inside. Literally, you are a rock head, and as your head moves around, those little rocks hit those little hairs and tells your body, how you're moving, where you're moving. Now, your eyes do that too. And motion sickness comes when your eyes are telling you you're moving in one way, and your ear is telling you you're moving in a different way, or not moving at all. So with VR,
I get it.
Your eyes are getting all this information about, oh my gosh, I'm moving all over the place. This world is great and big, but your ear is saying, no, we're sitting on a couch.
Yeah,
everything's cool. So in people where that, I think like Bryan was saying, and like a lot of people have had the experience, you can train yourself to kind of ignore those feelings and ignore that conflict and get through it. But it's tough. So if you are experiencing those symptoms, take off the VR helmet, walk around, literally like move around in your room, in your space, so your brain and your eyes can kind of get back in line again.
Yeah, be careful. Like I'm here telling you, keep pushing forward and keep doing it, but be safe.
Yeah.
We don't want you getting sick over this. I feel like if my mom had played for like another minute, we'd have her hospitalized. It was real bad.
They should really put a warning on this thing.
There's 15 warnings every time you turn this thing on.
That is one thing I noticed. It brought me back to my Virtual Boy days, where like everything you read about the Virtual Boy was telling you basically not to play it. It's kind of the same thing here. You open the manual and okay, if you experience these, don't play this. Fire up the game. First thing you see is, of course, in the virtual world, is this like 10-foot by 20-foot tall thing. Warning, you're not going to have a good time.
Yeah, and it won't even let you hit the button. It makes you sit there for like 5 seconds, and then it lets you hit the button. Yeah. This is sort of an extension of Here They Lie, and that's Resident Evil 7, which isn't even out yet. We're going to put this video up, and it's going to be a month out before the
breaking news
comes out. It's but the demo that they have available for free right now might be the best game to play on PlayStation VR.
Just the demo.
Just the demo.
Ooh.
Because it's... Now, I don't want to catch any flack for this. Please understand that when I say it's gorgeous, it looks amazing, it looks realistic, I mean in the terms of PlayStation VR. When you booted up Drive Club, the first thing you were like, this is a little fuzzy.
Yeah, that is one thing with all the hype of like, PlayStation VR. It's like, well, especially with the current generation of gaming, you're expecting this great high definition, HDR, everything shiny and wonderful. And in some ways, the graphics do feel like they're taking a step back.
Absolutely. Yeah. It looks like something between a PlayStation 2 and a PlayStation 3 that luckily runs at 60 frames a second, because if it didn't, your brain would just melt. And you sacrifice resolution and texture quality to get this true 3D effect.
Right.
I feel like the first 5 minutes of any VR game, you go, and then you go, all right.
Right.
Like you sort of get acclimated to the environment.
I was trying to play it very cool with Bryan sitting there watching me play, but I did want to start doing the
reach out and touch the waterfall in the background.
Yeah, or just like one of the games we tried. Well, I don't want to steal your thunder, but touching the dashboard and checking out the leather and
We'll definitely get to Drive Club momentarily. But so Resident Evil 7. So when I say it looks amazing, and from my perspective, I had played the Resident Evil 7 demo before they added VR support on PlayStation 4 proper. And I was like, this looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I didn't think it looked amazing. I didn't think it was anything they couldn't do on a PlayStation 3, but it looked good. It was running at a high frame rate, and it was first person, and everything was dark and grungy looking. It smelled like Teen Spirit. And then
denial.
And it was creepy. It was I sing on every episode. Yeah. You can feel free to sing all you want. No copyright strikes, please. So when I finally got to play the VR version of the demo, and by the way, stop giving us demos. We're ready for the game.
Yeah.
I put the helmet on, started it up, and went through the tutorial. God only knows why I did that. And then it started me off in the same room, like the same way as the last version of the demo. And I was like, oh God. And the first thing I said, because I did a Let's Play, was, my worst fears have just been realized. This looks just as real in VR as it does outside of VR. Which means for a scary game,
that's
like it's almost too scary. I had a friend over recently, and he played it, and at a certain point, after like 10-15 minutes, it's like, done. He had to take it off. He's like, I get it. I totally get it. He knew there was a monster coming up. He couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
And then Michelle, who's on my co-host on the Midnight Games Cast, she tried it after this week's weekly wrap-up. Didn't go so well on that front either. This is a convincingly scary game with a scary atmosphere, and the jump scares and the atmosphere is just all perfect. And then when you finally get you get an this thing's gonna be the death of you. You get an axe, and you get a handgun, which finally makes it like a Resident Evil game.
Right.
And suddenly you're like, okay, now I get an idea of what this game's going to be like. And I got to tell you right now, if you don't buy a PlayStation VR for Resident Evil 7, then I don't know what you're doing. Because this game is a must-have game, and this is the must-have way to play it. Hands down. If you have a PlayStation 4 and you want to play Resident Evil 7, right now, go buy a PlayStation VR so you have it already and you're acclimated and you get your VR legs before January something or another when Resident Evil 7 comes out. Trust me. Trust me. Trust me.
Okay.
You want this game. And I hate Resident Evil. Oh, it hasn't been good since 4.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan either, and I'm going to have to take a back seat and let you enjoy this, but it does look pretty darn good. I will have to say that.
Yeah. We started talking about Drive Club a
Oh,
little
yeah,
bit.
so that was, one of the first... Oh, sorry. So this is my first feelings of like, oh, this might not be an experience Des is going to enjoy. I will say, the title screen is really nice. All the graphics there, really, really great, really cleanly done. It does have this nice effect. I even mentioned this. It's a weird little thing to notice, but I like attention to detail. You've got your title screen. It's kind of overlaid over the real world, and there's this really nice transparency effect that just sort of blends. And you can never point to where the title screen stopped, the real world started. It's just this really nicely done kind of... So, a little... Yeah, it's the little things. But Drive Club it's a racing... Somewhere between... I think I'm going to steal this right from Bryan. It's somewhere between an arcade racing game and a simulator. It's a little bit of both. You get your choice, of course, all these wonderful fancy cars and a few different tracks around the world to drive in. And... it is really cool. Like, you sit down, once you've chosen your car, chosen your track, and you've got these little gloves there, and you do get the feeling of like, oh, I'm really in this car. You get to adjust, kind of where you're positioned, so you get to have a, feel of where you want to be experiencing it. It's not quite like adjusting your seat in a car. It's more like adjusting your reality, which is kind of neat. And then off you go, off to the races. As far as controls go, it's a pretty typical driving simulator. So you're going to be crashing into pylons the first couple turns. But this was definitely the one where it started for me.
Yeah.
There was a few, especially around some of the hairpin curbs, that Dez's eyes and ears were not communicating properly with each other. And I made it through Tokyo.
Yeah, you did.
I got about a quarter of the way through the Norway track and was like, yep, well, I get the idea.
Yeah.
For people who can survive this thing, this is going to be a great experience, but this is not for Des.
Now, you did play, you luckily got to try two different types of cars, two very different types of cars.
Yes.
And the first one was sort of, how would you describe that?
It was an open cockpit. Gosh, I wish I could remember the name. It was one, I saw this, I used to be a big Top Gear fan. I saw them driving this on Top Gear once. I was like, I want to try that thing in the real world. So I saw this in the game. I jumped to it. And we're going to test Bryan as a game. The car was called the
Caterham R500 Super Light.
So you can look up that car and...
That's just going to look funny.
Yeah, all right.
That's all it is.
I can't edit in the... We'll edit in the vocals later.
Oh, no. You can if you want to. I'll show you how to edit. I'm going to bed.
Yeah. But yeah, so I tried the open cockpit car, and that was cool. You got to look around and see, but it really, and I should have taken his advice the first time. I tried another car. It was an electric engine, which is very, very cool. But this was a closed cockpit, and that made a huge difference. I think that maybe that was actually the one that really sent me over the edge as far as... but as far as being immersed in the situation, yeah, you sit down and all of a sudden, yeah, there's the dashboard right there. And that's what I was referring to, is like, I really wanted to just like reach out and touch the dashboard. The gear shift is right here. It really feels like you're nice and enclosed in this space. So awesome job on the reality of the situation. Awesome job on the reactivity of the controls. The controls were really nice and reactive.
I feel like if you had a steering wheel for this game, it would just be like unbelievable.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I want to do one more, and then I want to throw out a couple, not honorable mentions. I kind of want to throw up a couple on the wall of shame.
Okay.
Okay, but first, this is not a wall of shame. This is phenomenal. Did you ever play Rez?
No, I did not. But
Rez?
I always wanted to. It looks amazing. Exactly the kind of game I'd like.
Awesome.
But, yeah.
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, it's sort of a 3D rail shooter, but it's like... It's all about music and rhythm and shooting your enemies, but it's all kind of done in time with the beat, and you kind of evolve, and everything looks sort of wireframe acid trippy. Now, this was originally the Dreamcast.
Yes.
And then it came to the PlayStation 2, where it got a little more widespread appeal. Wide? That's not one for it.
Hey.
And then I think there was a 360 HD version, and then we never really heard from these guys very much again. I think they did Child of Light, but
I was gonna say there was.
yeah, and that was like actually a connect and move controlled
Yes.
game. I think that's what maybe why it didn't get any popularity.
No.
So here we are in 2016, and one of the launch titles, and my I Am 8-Bit retail version just showed up. Res is back, and it's called Res Infinite. And I was like, all right, cool. It's going to be Res in VR.
Yeah.
And I was like, they just shoehorned this thing in to have a game ready for launch. Not actually what happened. Oh, man. There's no way I was going to show this game to you after how you felt.
I'm feeling woozy just thinking about it.
Because I got to tell you, with my VR legs and all,
Yeah.
oh, man, playing this for the first time just recently, in the last week or two, oh man! Every time the camera shifts, and every time you like go into a different direction, and like the better you do, the better you do, the more intense it gets, and the lights get brighter, and they come flying at you, and it's craziness.
Shouldn't they be rewarding you for doing better?
It's part of the experience. The acid got stronger, and I mean, there were multiple times during my first playthrough where I was like, just had to close my eyes because I was like, I just felt like I was probably gonna get sick, and it was phenomenal. Like this is a roller coaster ride. This is a drug trip. This is just absolute pure craziness. I don't even know if you've ever played Res and you even kind of liked it. You need to play this because this is the ultimate version of Res, hands down. It's crazy. You're not going to be able to tell how crazy it is because it's going to look like the 360 version on this. Look at our new set. Isn't our new set beautiful?
Yay. I like the pillows.
Pillows are awesome. Thank God we finally have a new HD television.
Yay.
Yeah.
Patreon's paying off. We're able to buy bigger, better fake TVs.
Bigger, better, fake JPEG pillows.
Yay. There.
I want to turn the background off just for a minute so people can see what's really. I want them to see how the hot dogs are being made. you want to do your
food.
Do you want to do your famous snapping? This is it.
Yeah.
This is all there is behind the scenes.
Stay in school, kids.
Hurry up. There we go. Whew, I feel better. I feel way more professional. Hey, come on. I'm getting motion sick.
No. All right.
Okay, good. That was jarring. So definitely get Res Infinite. It seems a little pricey as a launch game. It's like $30, I think. But man, oh man, you get plenty of replay value out of this. It is fun. It's as good as Res has ever been, and even better. The cool thing is like an enemy starts going by you. And like on the old games, you'd be like, well, the enemy's gone. He's off the screen. You just look over and go, boom.
Oh, there.
Yep. It's great. Res is back.
Yay.
All right. To what the hell were you thinking? Thanks for stealing my money games real quick. Now, the first one, I'm being a little harsh.
Okay.
First one's called Perfect, and I just actually reviewed it on the day it came out.
Not so much.
No, this is a vacation simulator.
Well, that's lovely.
Yeah. You give you basically it's move controlled.
Okay.
They give you 3 locations, and you can do all 3 of them in night 2.
Is this good move control or good old-fashioned bad move control?
This is a little bit in the middle.
Okay.
It sort of works for what it's supposed to do. There's just very little to do with it. So you choose one of 3 scenic locations. There's a beach. There's the Northern Lights, which is kind of like a snowy mountain. And then there's like some mountaintop area with a little cabin.
Okay. Cabin in the woods.
There's nothing terribly wrong with any of these things. But then you go and you pick your first location. Say you're on the beach.
On the beach.
And they are standing on the beach. And you look around and you're like, hey, here I am on the beach.
Yay.
And you're like, now what? And you look down and there's a pile of rocks. And you're like, you can use the move control to pick up a rock. And then you know what you can do with that rock? You can either drop it or you can throw it. Yeah, you do that for like 10 minutes and go, I feel like I wasted some money. You go to another location and you can pick up snowballs. Guess what you can do with those? Yeah.
Is there someone I can throw them at least?
No. And when I say you're standing in a location, you're just standing there. You can't walk around. You just literally have to stand in a fixed spot.
You're kidding me.
Fixed spot, and then you see like these 2 pillars of light in the distance, and you can transport yourself to them. But then you're also just standing again in a single spot, looking around, being like, "Isn't this beautiful?" And yeah, I'll tell you something. It's not that beautiful either.
How much was this?
$10.
That's still too much.
Yeah, they're trying to say that it's tranquil and this is your like refuge from the world. This is your place of rest and relaxation. And as Des experienced today, you never put on a VR helmet for a little rest and relaxation.
That's not even a game, though.
No, it's not. And this is sort of the problem. This is the problem. Too many developers, I think, are going, oh my god, we got to get out of the game because they're buying everything.
I was going to say, are we back to the good old-fashioned Wii shovelware situation?
We kind of are. We kind of are. So
haven't we learned anything?
No, because as I think I've mentioned, the attach rate on PlayStation VR, people who buy PlayStation VR kind of buy everything. Because once you see one game in VR, you want to see everything.
Well, also,
it's kind of addictive.
I mean, you've spent all that money on the VR. You want to make sure it was worth that investment. So you want to get all the... I mean, assuming you had the money to buy it in the first place, you probably have the extra income to buy all these games as well.
Yeah.
And you're going to want to make sure that investment pays off. So I totally get that.
And so when you like see some games that are $40, $50, $60, you see something on the store that's $10, you're like, oh, well, obviously I'll pick that up. And at least I will say this about that. At least it was $10, because the next game on the Hall of Shame was $20, and this is even worse than perfect. This game is called The Martian.
This is even worse than perfect. I love that sentence so much.
Yeah, I heard it after I said it. It was good. This is called The Martian VR.
Oh yeah, you're telling me about this one. This is disappointing on a lot of levels.
If you liked the Matt Damon movie The Martian, you will no longer like the Matt Damon movie The Martian if you play this. This taints anything good about that.
And the book, I mean, the movie was good. You know, it's one of those few where the movie was pretty decent. The original book is one of my top 10 books of all time right now.
Oh, that's awesome.
And to see it just crapped on like this is personally painful.
Yeah, you pay $20.
Yeah.
Okay, which in what I've said is over and over is that this should have been a free bonus on the $25 Blu-ray.
Okay.
You know, they charge way too much for Blu-rays when they come out. They should have like thrown this on there to make it seem worthwhile. Right? Be like, hey, you got a PlayStation VR? This $30 Blu-ray suddenly is a little more appealing.
Yeah.
You know, and I would have bought that. I would have been like, all right, I get it. For $30, I get the movie, I get the game, I get the whatever, and I'm like, I feel
that's
like
a bargain.
Right? And then I played it. And I'll tell you, from beginning to end, half of it is scenes from the movie. And it's Matt Damon talking to his video recorder. Okay, and that's all in 2D. Just a 2D flat image that you're staring at. It's like you're sitting in a movie theater watching it in low res. And then those transition poorly into game segments. Now, when I said half of this game is movie,
right?
That's 10 minutes. The other half, 10 minutes of gameplay. The whole thing, you're paying $1 a minute for the worst gameplay I've ever had. And you just do stupid little menial tasks like lift solar panels. All you're doing is like, you know, moving move controllers, and sometimes they respond, sometimes they don't. Ugh. It is the worst $20 you can spend in VR. This is embarrassing.
Yeah,
embarrassing.
It's just who was putting. I mean, this took somebody some effort. Like that's the thing. It's like some people were working reasonably hard on this.
What was the director's name?
I don't know.
Was it Ridley Scott?
It was Ridley Scott. It was Ridley Scott.
He apparently took pride in having worked on the VR experience.
Ridley Scott must not be a gamer, because clearly, this is terrible.
Yeah, horrible. So, there are bad VR games out there. I just wanted to send a little warning. If you're buying a PlayStation VR this holiday season, there are so many awesome games to buy. And in fact, look at the reviews on this channel.
Yeah, absolutely. Props to this guy here. I mean, he has been busting his tail these past few weeks, like getting these reviews out to get the information out. Because, you know, not many people are covering it this closely. There's a lot of like, okay, VR is great or VR is bad, and that's the end of the discussion. Yeah. You know, educate yourself. As you may have noticed, like I am not acting uncomfortable in this episode. I literally am not feeling great. So keep that in mind. But like Bryan was saying, you can power through it. You know, for a lot of people, there is an adjustment period. But even beyond that, educate yourself. You know, use resources like we're providing you. I mean, not to plug ourselves too much, but you know, get some opinions out there before you don't want to. Look, we don't want to repeat the Wii situation.
Nope.
We don't want to reward these people for putting out shovelware. So vote with your dollars on this stuff. Reward the great games and ignore the crap.
Yep. And if you are already a PlayStation VR owner and there are games you have questions about, comment below right here. Go check out the reviews. Talk to me. I'm literally, any moment that I'm not at my real job, I'm sitting behind my computer making videos for you guys or answering comments because I want to be part of this conversation. I want to help you guys out. People tell me daily that I'm saving them money because they saw a review of a game that they were going to buy, and they were like, oh my god, it's crap. Thank you for saving us a couple bucks. So yeah, use the references. Use what I've given you, and comment. Let me know if there are games that I haven't reviewed that you have questions about. I will absolutely get the information out to you if I have any available. Also, buy PlayStation VR. It's going to be great. And we're gonna get Dez through this.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to make him play 5 minutes a day.
No.
Every day.
And that's when Dez left the show.
It was a good run.
We're gonna have little dates. Dez when? 2016. 2016.
Yeah. Couldn't make it a year first. All right. So, hey, next week we're going to be back here, and we're going to be talking about why we love light gun games.
Woohoo! We do love light gun games.
Did we talk about Until Dawn Rush of Blood on that?
I think you did mention it, yes.
We do.
Yeah, that's okay.
We're filming out of order.
But, it's also important we talked about it without me experiencing this.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. For Gaming Without Parole, my name is Bryan Paul.
And my name is Dez.
And we will see you next week.
I wish I was this good of an actor.